Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be going over the most common 3D printing problems or questions, and I'm going to give you solutions on how to fix those issues. Just to let you know, 3D printing is not something that is without problems. You will have prints that fail, you will run into issues all the time. You might be printing for 2-3 years and you might run into a problem you've never ran into. But these questions or comments or problems that I'm going to be going over today is a combination of problems that I had when I first started, which was just a couple of months ago, and from my subscribers who messaged me and asked me these questions, and also just people from my Facebook 3D printer support group that were wondering how to do certain things because there were a lot of new members on there. So these are going to be the most common problems and issues that I will address today. Okay, now some of these might seem very simple, but keep in mind there's a lot of new people out there. 3D printing is catching on very fast, and they might not know these little things that we take for granted because we're more experienced and we might have a little bit more knowledge at this point than they do. So let's help them out. So that's what most of my videos are anyways, is from the beginning point of new people, and how to address issues will be the subject of this video. So starting off, first thing, most people ask me, well, I have ordered my 3D printer already. What should I do in the meanwhile while I wait? Well, that's very easy. A lot of people, you might not realize it for beginners, is that you think that you're going to get the printer, you're going to have all the things you need, and you're going to be good to go. That is not necessarily the case. So, I already have a video on this. Actually, I have videos about covering 80% of the stuff we're going to go over, but I'll just go over briefly on some of them. If you want more detailed information, you can refer back to the other videos. But what do you do in the meanwhile or meantime while you have your printer ordered and nothing's there yet? 1, order a roll of filament. Trust me, you will go through the factory filament that comes in with your printer super fast. And I'm talking within 15 to 20 hours, it will be done. So order yourself some filament. Okay guys, that is very important. You do want to do that. Another little thing you might want to do is go ahead and get yourself a surge protector. Now, why would you need that? The machines that people order nowadays vary anywhere from $300 to $1,000. A $6 surge protector can save your printer from having an electrical surge or short. So why wouldn't you do that? Plus, it prevents electrical fires and things like that. I mean, it doesn't completely prevent it, but it does help. So these are some of the things that you would maybe consider. Also, another thing you might want to consider is a place to put all your tools. I'm currently working on a station to put everything in, but for right now I just use the old filament box, and I just throw everything in there, and at the end of the night I just close it up so I don't lose it, and I keep it near my 3D printer at all time. Okay, another question I get is, why does my bed wobble? Basically what they're talking about is this part right here. Notice mine does not at this point, but if you watch my very first video, the biggest issue I had at that time is my bed was very wobbly. Down here underneath you will have a couple of wheels. Basically you just gotta take a wrench to them and tighten up, and that should fix your bed leveling issues that you might have at the time. Another issue or question somebody had for me was, well, why is my z-axis, when it's printing, it skips a little bit, or it feels like my belt is loose, or how does that work? Basically what it is 3D printers, most of the ones I know, work off belts. There's one here, there's one here. When I got this printer here, it was very loose. So what you have to do is you have to go in and make sure you tighten it, get it the tension right, and this way there'll be no issues with the print, because when you're printing this, let's say for example when your belt is loose, there's gears here like little teeth, and then the actual belt has teeth, so it connects as it moves around. So for example, if your belt is loose, you might skip a connection like that, and that's going to skip on your print, and that's going to show imperfections which you don't want. Okay, the biggest problem I get, or the question I get, is why can't I get my bed leveled? Well, one of the main reasons probably would be is maybe you're just not adjusting these screws at the bottom right. I know people that do 16-point or 15-point tests, and that actually might throw you off. If you just do the 1, 2, 3, 4 corners and the center, that will usually be good enough. Most people overthink bed leveling. You don't need to do that. Just take your time, do it once, measure twice if you have to, and just do it the right way, and you should be okay with that. But the biggest problem I do see that people have when they order their 3D printer is the glass itself. I haven't cleaned it, as you can see. I put a piece of tape so you can see it. But when your glass is inside, on top of the heat bed or heat plate, you level your bed here, 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 and then you go to level the bed in the middle, and it's not leveling, and you can't figure out for the life of you what the problem is. Well, it's a very common problem in the 3D printing industry right now. When people ship these printers out because they're made in China, the glasses they have imperfections in certain parts. Okay, so it might be here, it might be here, it might be there, but there might be a little bit of sagging in the middle right here, and that's why all 4 of your corners come out perfectly level, but when you go to the middle, it does not. So how do you fix that? Well, that's pretty easy. Take your glass, flip it over, okay, re-level your bed. Now 50 to 70% I would say that will fix the problem. Okay, the imperfection might have only been on one side, but if you're unlucky, you'll probably have the other side bulging up, so not all 4 corners come out perfect, but this part the nozzle won't even touch because it's so tight, so it'll stop like right here instead of going to the middle. If that's the case, guys, unfortunately you just need to go and buy a new piece of glass, or if you want to upgrade, I know they have commercial type surface plates that you can go that are a little roughed up, so they have better adhesion to it when you apply the glue stick, hairspray, whatever, tape. There's other ones out there, you can look them up. They're not very expensive, so that should be okay. So the reason your bed isn't leveling, one of the main reasons I found out, so I'm going to touch on that, is your center's warped. If you flip it, maybe there's a bubble on it. But one thing you can do, if you're not 100% sure, they have some files that you can download from like Thingiverse or My Mini Factory, and what it is a bed leveling calibration file. So basically it'll just have like a square here, 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 and one in the middle. So that's the 5 points that it's going to check for, and it prints out a very thin layer, and you can see if it goes up or down once you take it off. I tried that originally on this side, and this side did have an imperfection. I got very lucky when I flipped it. It was perfectly fine, so I didn't have any issues there. Okay, so that is the most common problem as far as bed leveling. Besides that, just be patient and give it time, and just do it twice if you have to. Another big question I get is how to change my filament. Well, how do I change my filament before a print? How do I change my filament in the middle of a print? Every printer is different on the menu side, guys. On mine, basically once you start the printer, there is a tune feature that pops up, and once you click on that, you can actually go in there and then change filament, and then it gives you like a warning beep until you change it. Once you're done changing it, if you press this button one time, the printer will start printing again. When you hit the change filament, let's say your nozzle's here, it'll just come to the side and wait until you change the filament out. Like again, I have a video on that you guys can look at. One way to change it is the old school way, and you can do that just by going into your printer's control box and hitting pause print, and you can change the filament out, put a new one in. Just be really careful on that, guys, because this Z-axis here, if you bump it, because it's all connected and it moves just a little bit up or down, and let's say you've printed about this high already, your nozzle is going to start here, so it's just going to knock over your print. So all the hours that you've spent doing the first layer or first height is going to go to waste. So just be really, really careful when you do that. The reason you would change filament, one, your roll's about to run out, or you want to change colors or things like that. But that's how you change filament. The common way, like I said, pause the print, change it out. If you have a tune feature in your printer, you can use that to do it. It just depends on which model you have, okay? Another question I get is, well, how much filament or infill do I use? The most common in the industry right now, most people use anywhere from 15 to 20. Anything less than that, you might have some problems depending on what kind of print you're making. Infill basically is the support of your print. So if you don't have the right amount of infill and you squeeze it too hard, or let's say you only did one layer height compared to, let's say 3, so your outer shell isn't that strong and you have no infill, you'll be able to crush it, or if somebody sits on it, things like that. So the average is 20%, I'm gonna say 10 to 20 or 15 to 20%, but it just depends on your print and what other features you have selected. But industry standard is 10 to 20. Okay. Another question that I found is, what kind of adhesion should I use? Basically, what I'm using is not working. Well, that's very easy. There's multiple types. The most popular ones are just the glass by itself. You can use hairspray right on it, apply a decent amount, and start printing just like that. Nothing else on it, just glass and hairspray, and you will be good to go. Okay. Another thing you can do is use tape, as you see right there. But normally you would fill in the whole thing and then apply glue to it. And basically what I do is I tape it all up, and then I put the glue on, and then I just go from there. And that usually that's what works for me, is tape and glue. So I like that feature. But you can use the hairspray on it. They make other surfaces, like I said earlier, that you can buy that's a little sanded down, a little rough texture to it. You can use special adhesion things like they have alcohol that you can use on it. Some people put water on it. There's multiple things that you can do, guys. There's special chemicals you can buy, whatever you want to do. So as far as adhesion, there is no one right way. It's basically what works for you. I've tried the hairspray thing, didn't work. There's so many people out there though that live by the hairspray method. I prefer the tape and glue. That's what works for me, and I don't want to go out there and buy special chemicals and things like that if I've already found something that works. Okay, so another big question that I get is, how often should I level my bed? As often as it needs to be. Basically, I usually do it after 3 to 5 prints. Some people don't do it until 10, 15 prints. It just depends. If you feel like it's off a little bit, just re-level it. It doesn't take long. Once you get it down, it only takes about 5 minutes, maybe less. I would recommend anything 6 hours or plus time-wise, level your bed. If you've just done one and you're starting a new one, level your bed. Because you don't want it to get about this high and then just topple over or be at an angle or slanted and have those imperfections. I mean, keep in mind, there's people that had auto leveling on their machines and they level it at the beginning of every print. So it just depends on how you want to do it. But basically, it comes down to when it is needed. Good practice would be every print. I do it every 2 to 3 prints or 2 to 5 prints, depending on what I've printed and how many hours I've put into it. Okay. Another question is, how do I prevent nozzle clogging? You can't. You will eventually, at one point in your 3D printing career, have your nozzle clogged. That is a given. There's no way you can change that. Some advice I can give you though, keep an extra pair on hand. That will help you to repair it instead of having to wait in the mail for about a week, depending on where you order it. But what might help you is, once you finish your printer, most people just reach back here and boom, turn off the power. I used to do that. And then I read, if you just go into your menu, there's a cool down section on there. If you just do it and let it cool down on its own and turn it off, you're less likely to get clogging. It's not gonna prevent it, but it will help. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Another question I get: why does both of my fans turn on? Everybody has two fans. One is here, one is here. Some people ask, why do both of my fans turn on? Some people ask, why does only one fan turn on? Well, basically the fan in the front, which is this one, as soon as you start your print, this fan kicks on and it will stay on. The fan on the side will only turn on if it is written in your G code and told to turn on. And that is like a slicing thing, depending on what program you're using. You can set the parameters for that. Basically, it'll tell you like turn off fan after 4th layer or 3rd layer. You can have it always on, or you can just do 5th layer, 1st layer, basically whatever you want. So that's just in the slicing thing program that you can adjust yourself and go from there. Okay, guys? Also, another question I get: my filament tube popped up. Okay, basically what it is this white tube right there. My filament comes through here, goes through the white tube here and comes into that. Sometimes this might pop off and this might pop off. Well, this isn't gonna pop off. This is actually screwed, bolted on, but this might pop off. Believe it or not, these are just pop in. You can just push them back in. The catch is, it will take more strength than you think. I mean, you gotta like push that sucker in there, and when you do it right, you'll hear a click. Now let's say if you still have that issue, you've pushed and pushed and you just can't get that sucker in there. What do? Just go get some clips to hold it in place. That's basically it. I think you can buy them on any 3D printing site. Doesn't take much, it's not very expensive. You just need a clip to hold it in place. That's it, and then you will be good to go, and you shouldn't have any more issues on that. Okay, now well, let me see what the next one is. Okay, my SD card slot seems a little loose, or it's not reading, or it's wobbly. Most of the time, guys, these printers are made in China, and they're not made, I'm not gonna say well, because they are made well, but because they're mass produced, the machine puts everything together, and sometimes it doesn't do the best job. So your control box might be here, and your your card slot is here, and it might be hitting it, and it's in the way, and that's why it's not reading, because it's not going all the way in to read the metal part that sends the information. Another thing could be you've reinserted a card so many times you've just worn it out. My solution to that: buy one of these. I got this for $1.69, okay, or $1.79 on eBay. Basically what it is a micro SD card extender. So I have my card here, so pop this sucker out, and I dropped it, but that's fine. You can see where it goes right in there, and the other end, it just looks like a micro SD. So I take it, put it on the side of my control box, and usually I just lay this down next to it. I'm eventually going to tape it up here, but then you just insert your micro SD card and you're good to go, and I'll start reading it. So that would be my best solution, because now you're not ever going to mess with that unless you have to. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Buy a micro SD card extension cable. It works very, very well. Another question I get is, what slicing software should I use? The top three slicing softwares out there, in my opinion, that get used a lot. There's multiple, keep in mind, but these are my top three. For beginners, I highly recommend Cura. Cura is very easy to use. There's not too many settings on there that will throw you off. It's a great beginners slicing software. My buddy, he has Simplified 3D. He opted out $150 to get that program. I've seen it at his house, and it is a very good program. But if you're new, it is not the program for you. I would recommend using Kira just to learn the basics, and then when you feel like you're capable of understanding the terms and technology and speed and heat control and bed control and all those other things, fan control, then upgrade to that. Then it's definitely worth it. That program is amazing. But if you want to meet somewhere in the middle, let's say between Cura and Simplified 3D, because unlike me, you don't see the need to spend $150 for a software that you're fully not gonna utilize. You can go with Craftware. Craftware is also pretty good. It has the basic features of Cura, and it gives you a little bit more options as far as fine tuning. Now, keep in mind, Cura is also good. I mean, I still use it till this day. I recently started using Craftware, and I think it's a great program as well. So those are the three top slicing softwares that I would personally recommend that you can go with. Another popular question I get is, I've leveled my bed and I've printed the default print that came with the printer. Great, no problem. But all other prints, I'm having filament issues, stringing issues, sagging issues, bubbling issues. Well, these are all issues that you're going to have in your slicing software, guys. So what you want to do, for example, I'm going to use two slicing softwares here. One would be Cura. What you want to do is you want to make sure your layer height is correct. Okay. The thickness at this point is not really going to make a difference on the warping and all that. Just make sure your printing temperature, if you're printing with PLA or ABS, is correct. It's going to be indicated on the spool itself. Is your build plate temperature correct? Is it, if you're printing ABS is different, if you're printing PLA is different. The diameters for your nozzle, or your filament, sorry, not nozzle, but filament, is it correct? Are you using 1.75 filament? Is it a different filament? It just makes all the difference. The flow, basically how much filament comes out. Maybe this is at 20%, and that's why you're having issues. Make sure you enable retraction, because what that's going to do is basically, as you're moving from one section of the print to the other, this is just the travel time, your filament is still flowing at a complete 100% because you have this so low. So these are some of the stuff. Your printing speed, how fast are you printing your STL file or G code, the travel speed, like I said, between the two, how fast is that? Are your fans enabled? Things like that. So these are some of the things that you will have to check, because every print is different and every setting might potentially be different. You can have a standard setting for everything, but most of the time I tweak everything around on each separate print. So not all my prints are the exact same numbers or layout, but you can have a default profile if you want. So it'll load that automatically for you. Okay. Another question I get is, why does my print start in the front left instead of the middle? So basically what that is there's a setting in here on your slicer program that you have to set. So you're supposed to start the print here. Now if you have the printer that I have currently, the Creality Cr-10, it's going to start here, because on that printer the 000 is here, not here. You would assume it would be in the center, but it's not. I learned that the hard way. So what you want to do now, this is just in Cura. If you have other softwares, I don't know where that would be, but you would click here and you would go to Manage Printers, Machine Settings, and right here it says Machine Center is 0. So basically what that's saying is the center of the machine is where the zeros are at. If you have this checked off, then it's going to start printing here. Make sure this is not checked off. For some reason I can't check it off. There we go. Alright. Now if you're using let's say craftware, okay, you're going to go into options down here, and when you go to the option you're going to go to printer, and right here it'll say 0 position on the bed is, now of course I've picked it for mine, it says front left corner, but if you pick center then that's not going to print in the center, that's going to print here. So that's where mine is at. Okay, so in these two programs, I'm just going to go over these two. That's where you would go and set it. Okay, and just be careful on that, because these are the simple mistakes that people forget, or simple settings that people forget to change, and it causes a big problem because you turn it on and you leave and you come back and it's hanging over your bed and you don't know why. That could be one of the reasons why. Okay, another question I get is, in my slicing program my print takes up the whole surface space. So basically if this is the space of my surface, right, you put something in there. So for example, let's see if I can find something for you guys. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So let's say this is the surface space here. Let's make this sucker bigger. Okay, so right now I would say it's using up about 60% of the surface space, right? But when you go to print it on your printer, it might only be that big. Now why is that? Again, is this settings in your profile or printer profile? So again, you're going to go here, you're going to click on, let me show you again. You can click on the name of the printer, manage printers, and you're going to click on machine settings. Notice for my printer, the Creality Cr-10, I have it set at 300 by 300 by 400. So let's say if I didn't have this right and I had it 100 by 100, I'm not worried about the Z, so I'm going to leave that alone. So now if you look, according to this, let's say that's your print. That's taking up about, what, I would say maybe 90% of your surface space right there. But if you print it like this, you're going to have a bunch of space on your original printer. Why does this make a difference, guys? If you have a huge file that you're printing, you're probably going to end up cutting it in pieces, or slicing it or separating it like in Mesh Mixer or something. But if I go back in here and change it to the right dimensions, you'll notice it's only taking about 30% of the space. So just be careful on that. Make sure you get all the printer settings down before you start even slicing and doing stuff in there. Really quick, I'll show you the same thing in Craftware. You just go into options, you got your printer here, and these are your X, Y, and Z parameters that you want to set. Okay, so with that being done, the next question I get is, I have leveled my bed, where can I download STL files to print? Well, that's actually very easy. Exit out of that. Where you want to go is things like Thingiverse. You can go in here. You can add whatever you are, search for whatever you want. So like I said, everybody should know by now, I'm an avid Destiny player. So there are ships in that game, so I'm just going to click on it, search, and it's going to bring things up. Now I've said this already in another video. Down here there's not too much detail like picture wise, so I wouldn't really feel too comfortable downloading these. Now you can, don't get me wrong, but normally I like files that have pictures because that proves to me that someone's actually printed this and it's come out pretty good. On Thingiverse, there's a massive amount of uploads, and not all the meshes are perfect, so you might have to repair them. But my mini factory, I haven't had any issues with them. Most of, I would say 80% of the um, STL files I download from here are pretty good. So, for example, you see most of them are pictures. So this one's a picture. It actually shows the actual pieces, and there's a picture there of what the end result comes out to be. So this is where you would go to get your STL files. These are some two good sites. I have a video on where to go get STL files. I think I have like 7 or 8 top sites in my opinion that you should go to. Um, but that's all the time I'm gonna spend on that. Next question is, what should I print? Most people, guys, print stuff that they don't even need. They just print because they want to print. They got this brand new shiny 3D printer and they can't wait to go at it. So print things that you need. Don't print stuff that you're just gonna throw in a box. I have a small box that's full of 3D prints that I'm never gonna use again, and it's taken up over 50 to 70 hours worth of time, and it's just sitting there, thrown in the corner. That's it, not being used. So what would you print? Well, think about it. What's the first thing you want to print? Is mods for your printer. I've currently printed this here, the y-axis belt tensioner, the z-axis belt tensioner. Um, my filament is very close to my z-axis rod here, so this attachment prints it out. I showed you my tools that I keep. This one actually you can print out a toolbox or a tool holding container, I guess, that's beneath your printer, which you can just close it off. You can print braces or brackets depending on what printer you have, fan mods, all kinds of stuff. So print stuff like this. I've printed vape stations for my brother and an iPhone and iWatch charger in one. So just be aware that don't print stuff that you're not going to need. Sometimes, yes, you can print stuff that's just fun to print or looks cool, but print things that you're going to use. Save the time, or use the time wisely, actually, I should say, that you're going to be printing. Okay? Now, the last thing I'm going to touch bases on before I let you guys go. Wow, sound like a professor there, huh? Feels college days. Is where's the best place to find help and answers, um, and how to solve problems? Well, duh, this video, I just went over a bunch of problems and questions that most people have. So watch this video. Watch it twice if you want to. But if it doesn't answer the question that you're looking for, guys, there's a lot of things out there. The first thing I'd probably recommend is your um, printer face group support or support group. Sorry. I currently, like I said, have the Creality Cr-10, and these are my fellow 3D printers that actually give me advice, or if I have a question, they help me out with that, and just go from there. Another place you can go, of course, is just straight Google. You can type in whatever you want. Another great resource is my YouTube page. You can come here, and it's YouTube-san, and it'll bring you to this page here. And I have a few videos that might help you out. How to use Craftware, the basic and the expert mode, mesh mixer, things to know before you start printing, where to get STL files from, review on my printer, how to change filament, how to level the bed 2 separate ways, how to use Cura, bed leveling and adhesive that works, adhesion, sorry, that works well for me, and of course just the basic assembly of my printer. So these are some videos that you guys can check out. But if not, then just type in whatever you want on YouTube and see if somebody has a video on it. If not, then type it in Google. Me, I'm more of a visual type of guy. So if I see it, I understand it better. By reading it, sometimes I get the message mixed up. So basically that's it, guys. So this is gonna do it for the video. I know it's a little longer than I thought. I don't know if I'm gonna do it in one part or two. I don't like doing two-parters, to be honest. I like everything in one video, so I'll see what I can do, if I can cut things down or not. But I hope this helps somebody, because these are the most common questions and problems that people run into in the beginning. I know I ran into about 60% of these problems, and if you're running into any one of these problems, I hope it helps you out. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, I make these videos based on the new person to the 3D industry, such as myself, and whatever problems I run into, I make it from that point of view, because I know there's a lot of people with the same questions, but they're scared to ask it. But if some of my videos are kind of pointless for the experts, it might help the beginners out tons. So there you go, guys. Enjoy. And like always, happy printing.
If you like this video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel.